What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Metal Maniacs Podcast. I'm your host, Jay Ingersoll, and I'm here, as always, with my co-host.
Yo, Jay, it's your boy Mod.
It's Mod. Today, we are in part 2 of the black metal biography that we're doing. And we left off the first part. We are started to go into the second wave of black metal. But before we jump into that, how are you doing today, Mod?
I'm good. I'm starting to find a groove in life, and man, things are starting to settle down for me. I'm feeling good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited for the way things are going. We're getting some good traction on the podcast.
Yes.
We're getting new subscribers and followers all the time. We're getting some views on our stuff.
Good.
So, I mean, that's not why we do it. We do it so we can just hang out and talk metal.
Yeah.
But we've had some good guests on, so that's been cool.
Yes.
And so I'm just feeling good going into 2024. You know, this episode basically coming out right. I think this is the 26th of the day after Christmas, but still we're in the Christmas spirit.
Ho, ho, ho.
Shout out to the Cattle Decap Christmas Extinction shirt. I love it.
Yes.
So this is why we got our festive gear on, and we're gearing up for Black Metal Part 2. So
you looking forward to getting anything for Christmas this year, Jason, or is it a bag of coal for you?
no, I think I've been pretty good. I've been working my ass off all year, so I've been pretty happy. But as far as getting stuff at this age, it's more about what can I give, and as long as I got my family, you know, that's all that matters, man.
Good attitude. I don't have anything that I'm looking forward to specifically, but I've got like a list of things that I want to treat myself to, from acoustic guitar to all sorts of kitchen appliances. The list is long. I'm not saying I'm getting any of it. We'll revisit this episode. I'll let you know if I did get anything cool. If I'm making ice cream or sausage or
Hell yeah,
singing Kumbaya, like I've got a lot of things I want, man. I'm still a kid.
Yeah. Well, you know, at this age, it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I want to make sure the kids obviously have a great Christmas.
Absolutely.
But we're kind of on the verge of like needing a new refrigerator, so that's kind of be like our Christmas gift to ourselves. So instead of, you know,
but those things are still fun to shop for. Actually, at this age, it's kind of like, do I want the water maker? Do I want the ice maker? Yes or no? Like,
we do.
Do I want the French doors? What do I want?
Yeah.
It's weird how like adulting can be fun and boring to kids. Like 19, 20 years old, you don't think about buying a refrigerator.
No,
it's not even a thing until somebody like makes you sit down and think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my fridge is nice, but it's been leaking, and then like I looked it up, and there could be like all these issues with it, and I'm just like, I'm kind of handy and I can fix things, but I can't go through a list of 19 different things because it might be by the 19th one, and by the time you spend all the money on those little things, it's like, might as well just buy a new one at this point. Absolutely. So it is what it is. But yeah, other than that, I would actually like a new like, I love gear, right? I love new stuff, and the wife's always buying me shirts and stuff. Nice. So if somehow she would hear this and understand that a sleep token shirt would be cool.
There you go. There you go.
I was looking at some yesterday. I'm like, yeah, I could buy that for myself.
Yeah.
But
I'm shameless. I just instant message them to my wife. I'm like, just yes or no is fine, but just so you know, this is a thing I like. I'm just fucking shameless. Just, you don't have to buy me this, but if you did, you'd be a lot cooler.
I love it. I mean, you make it easy though.
Yeah.
Like, here's a whole list of stuff that
take
Nick
the guesswork
wants.
out.
Yeah. Instead of trying to like hope I get that and know maybe I've dropped some hints or whatever. I do want to go to the Meshuggah show. Obviously, that's already happened by the time this episode's come out. Yep. So, and then I got a few shows coming up. The Despised Icon show is in 2 weeks.
Okay.
And then obviously going to the Die show. So I got like 4 weeks of shows. I didn't actually go to that show last night, which this is come out the day after Christmas, but that show last night was like October 28th or whatever. I wanted to go, but I just was, by the time I did everything yesterday, you know how it goes. Sometimes it's just burnt. I'm just like, I got shows next 4 weekends in a row. So.
Same. I got some shows in November, December I'm looking forward to, so let's get into the second wave. Let's wash ourselves over the second wave of black metal.
Cool. So we are getting into wave 2 of black metal. This is part 2 of the bio, like I said, and we are coming into the Helvete and Deathlike Silence, the epicenter of Norwegian black metal. So this is when the Norwegian wave comes in. We kind of went through the first wave in the first episode. If you ain't listened to that, go check it out. I'm sure you will find it interesting as we did. So
very informative.
So we're traveling back to the summer of 1991. Euronymous, the guitarist of the infamous band Mayhem, decided to make a bold move. He opened an independent record shop, and he chose a name that perfectly captured the spirit of the emerging black metal scene in Norway, Helvete, which translates to hell in Norwegian.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah. I mean,
that's the mood. Welcome to hell.
Yeah, just go right for it, I guess. So
kind of sounds like a lot of the album work they were putting out at that time too. It sounded like hell. That early black metal stuff.
Yeah, from the bowels for sure. So located at Schweigard's Gate 56 in Oslo, Helvete quickly became the nucleus of Norway's burgeoning black metal movement. It was a place where musicians, especially those from bands like Mayhem, Burzum, Emperor, and Thorns, gathered and exchanged ideas. John Metallian Christensen, renowned for his fanzine Slayer, once remarked that the establishment of Helvete was nothing short of the creation of the whole Norwegian black metal scene. But that wasn't all. In the basement of Helvete, Euronymous birthed an independent record label, Deathlike Silence Productions. While Mayhem's rising prominence and the underground success of Euronymous' label, the tide began to turn. Record labels that had previously shied away from black metal acts began to take notice and reconsider, leading to the release of their material.
Do you think it was because of better quality production or just because it became more popular?
I think it's just becoming more popular.
Heard.
And I believe some of the, like some of the other labels and death metal labels, they've kind of had their share of death metal, and they see that like this black metal thing probably isn't going away and it's starting to gain traction. Right. So just like with anything else, hey, with the record labels, how can you make $1,
Yeah, and it adds more diversity to the label for extreme metal fans, so not everything is just brutal death metal. Now you've got like another sound of extreme music, so that makes sense too. That tracks.
So as the Norwegian black metal scene gained momentum, it became notorious for a series of arson attacks on Christian churches. By January 1993, a series of arson attacks had rattled Norway, targeting several major stave churches, including one on Christmas Eve of 1992. Varg Vikernes, a prominent figure in the black metal scene, found himself ensnared in these acts. He was held responsible for several church cases of arson and attempted arson involving Asane Church, Storviet Church, Skold Church, and Holmenkollen Chapel. Tried my best on that. Sorry about that. They're burned down now, so it doesn't matter.
They're gone.
However, it's worth noting that he was acquitted of the Fantolf Stave Church arson, even though some discrepancies existed in the case. Between 1992 and 1996, at least 50 such attacks occurred in Norway, some targeting centuries-old buildings regarding as vital historical landmarks. So say what you will about these guys burning the churches down. I think I'll get into like the reason why they did it. It's not necessarily to be satanic, but on the flip side of it, it is kind of fucked up that these are historical landmarks, and these churches were made of mostly wood.
Yeah.
So they went up in flames really fast. So they're centuries old buildings made of like wood.
Yeah.
So it just sucks that like a lot of them aren't there. Maybe they would have dilapidated by now, or they could have been refurbished to, better structures, and they could have been part of the history and the landmark, but they were just like, nope.
Yeah, and that's the part of it for me that kind of sucks too, because as you get older, you start to realize, hey, that thing is, like antiquity and it's cool. It's that it's stood the test of time and it's still here to look at and take pictures of, and it just goes back so long in human history, and to take a bunch of those things away it's kind of sad at the end of the day. Like, why? And it still happens in the world. Like, these church burnings aren't an isolated incident of people like attacking history and art in such a way, but it's a shame.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Could have put yourself on the map in other ways.
You're
for sure.
Yeah, but I guess if you're trying to make a statement, I mean, that's one way to do it. So the first of these devastating fires consumed Norway's Fantolf Stave Church. Law enforcement believed that Varg Vikernes of Burzum was the mastermind behind these acts of destruction. Varg Vikernes, also known as Count Grishnak, I call him Count D-Bag, but whatever. He was a one-man band and the biggest asshole there is. A neo-Nazi, a turbo nerd, and an overall D-Bag again. Like, this guy is a fucking... If you want to learn anything about him, go on his YouTube channel, because he's still putting out YouTube videos.
Yeah.
We'll get into more of Varg Vikernes. His music sucked, and he's, like I said, he's a turbo nerd. He's got some stupid game where it's like Dungeons & Dragons, but the pamphlet, and I'm not saying anybody that plays Dungeons & Dragons is a nerd, but he made his own game, and the pamphlet's like hundreds of pages thick in order to be able to play the game and shit. Like, the dude is a crazy nerd. So
I have 2 words for Varg and people like Varg. It's neckbeard.
Yeah.
And incel.
Yeah.
So those are the words that come to mind when we're talking about this guy who is so important to black metal. It's a shame. Like, maybe he did something good for the music scene back in the day, but as a person, as a human being, like, it's like watching a turd circle the bowl, waiting for it to go down all the way. Like, just go down, go away.
Yeah,
it's just
for sure.
He's a turd, man.
Yeah, he's a definite D-bag. So the cover of Burzum's EP, Aske, which means ashes in Norwegian, features a haunting photograph of the torched church. During this tumultuous time, media reports linked Vikernes with theistic Satanism, adding an extra layer of intrigue. In later interviews, Vikernes distanced himself from the satanic motivations for the arsons. Instead, he claimed they were acts of revenge against what he perceived as Christian desecration of Viking graves and temples. According to Vikernes, the arsons were meticulously timed to coincide with the anniversary of the Lindisfarne Viking raid.
Yeah, I don't think Varg is necessarily the arbiter of revenge, and I don't think that that's the way to get it anyway, just going around burning stuff because you say it's your right to avenge, continue.
It reminds me of just like a big baby that's like,
yeah,
like he thinks his ideas are so great, so he's running around just, yeah, they're doing I'm going to burn your church.
Yeah, there's a lot of people like Varg floating around.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Especially nowadays, but that's kind of what he reminds me of. Fucking wanker. So, Vikernes contended that all the arsons except for one Stavanger were the one in Stavanger, maybe, were the work of a single person. The black metal scene was thrust into the media spotlight in January 1993 when the anonymous interview with Count Grishnak, a.k.a. Vikernes, surfaced. In this shocking interview, he confessed to burning churches and even claimed involvement in a murder in Lillehammer. The interview was published by Bergens Tidende, one of Norway's largest newspapers, and sent shockwaves through the community. However, by the time the article went public, Vikernes had already been apprehended by the authorities. The police managed to locate him using an address for a Burzum flyer. Fucking criminal mastermind over here, man, I'm telling you.
Yep.
Surprisingly, Vikernes later revealed that the anonymous interview was a calculated move orchestrated by himself and Euronymous, another influential figure in the black metal scene. Their intention was to spread fear, promote black metal, and attract more patrons for Helvete, a record shop associated with the scene. Helvete was a shop opened by Euronymous, which is a local hub or hangout for black metalers. They sold even commercial shit like Napalm Death. That was like an actual quote for him because he wanted more patrons in his shop, so he couldn't just sell black metal. So they sold commercial Napalm Death.
Yeah.
Black metal is spray painted on the basement of the building and is still there to this day. I just seen a picture of, might have been like Gates to Hell or Sensu Sugabog, and they were like in the basement over there, and it's still spray painted there at the same spot.
Well, that's wild.
So shortly after the interview's publication, Vikernes was released due to lack of evidence.
Even though he left it laying around everywhere.
Yeah. So in May 1994, Vikernes was found guilty of burning down not only the Hammelkollen Chapel, but also the Skold Church and Assane Church. He faced additional charges related to an attempt of arson of another church and the theft and storage of staggering 150 kilograms of explosives.
Good Lord.
To add a sinister twist, Vikernes and Euronymous allegedly conspired to bomb the Nidaros Cathedral, an iconic structure that graced the cover of Mayhem's De Mysterious Dam Sathanas album. The wave of arson didn't spare other black metal musicians either. Faust and Samoth from Emperor and Jorn Ing Tunsberg of Hades Almighty were also convinced in connection with the church burnings. This destructive spree didn't confine itself to Norway. Members of the Swedish black metal scene joined in 1993. So those responsible for the church burnings exhibited no remorse, viewing their actions as symbolic retaliation against the persuasive influence of Christianity in Norway. Mayhem's drummer, Hellhammer, even called for attacks on mosques and Hindu temples reasoning they had represented foreign faiths. Today, within the black metal community, opinions of the church burnings vary. Some early Norwegian black metal figures, such as Infarnus and Gall of Gorgoroth, continue to applaud these acts as acts of defiance. Gall even boldly states, there should have been more of them, and there will be more of them.
Jesus.
You might want to get to it. You're probably like 50-something by now, homie. However, the others, like Necro Butcher, Ketel Manahem of Mayhem, and Abbott of Mordor, view these events as futile. Mannheim believes that many arsons were simply desperate attempts by individuals seeking acceptance within the black metal scene.
Yeah, that part.
Yeah,
100%.
That's what it kind of seems like it is. I mean, I guess marketing,
Yeah.
burn down some churches were evil, I guess, but at the cost of what,
Yeah, and for me, I just don't see winning any minds over with that sort of behavior. I'm anti-Abrahamic, I don't believe in any of these religions whatsoever, but attacking them, isn't going to be the answer. I'm trying to win people over with, logic and just actual care instead of faux morals. So that's what I see projected onto me from these religions, and I can see taking a stand against them. You have to go about your battle the right way, pick your battle, and also fight the right way. I don't think burning their churches down is an answer. That's just going to, invite retaliation from your perceived enemy, right?
Yeah.
And it's not really an enemy. I don't think people are necessarily the enemy. I just think ideas are what need to be talked about more than people. So when you're talking about an idea, now you have higher minds, and then you can combat philosophies, but when you're just attacking people, that idea still lives,
right?
And it's never going to go away.
Yeah,
and
you're not going to change minds.
Yeah,
like that.
Until we sit down at the table and have a talk where you can really change things, then we're just going to keep burning each other's churches down and killing each other's people over religion, which to me, again, it's just man-made. So that's where I stand.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Also, you're 19 and you have all this hatred and angst towards the world, and you already want to consider yourself in probably the most cheesiest manner evil and cult and all this shit.
Right.
So, these are your actions, I guess, but
Yeah.
I guess being young and dumb and not knowing better is not really an excuse, but at the same time, it's I agree 100% because,
And it segues nicely into this next little section, it sounds like.
So Eric Danielson, the vocalist of Wayten, acknowledged the significance of the attacks, but offered a unique perspective, saying that only Christianity they defeated was the last piece of Christianity within themselves, which is a very good beginning, of course. In the end, the church burnings remain a dark chapter in history of black metal, stirring a range of emotions and debates within the community. Varg was most responsible for the burnings, but not because he was satanic. He said that Christians moved in on the Christian ground, and he was giving back the land to the pagan. So he didn't necessarily say he was ever Satanist, but him being a Viking and having pagan beliefs, either way, the Christians moved in, and obviously there's a deep history there, but, keeping that going, like you said, it's just an idea.
He was just stoking an old flame. It sounds like there's a hate there that is still palpable.
So we're going to get into the murder of Euronymous. Now, this is another staple in the black metal scene right here. This was another, you got the church burnings, now you have this, you have the suicide of Dead, their Mayhem's former vocalist. So all of this negative attention is building around black metal and bringing it to the light.
Yeah, and also over a very short period of time, correct? Like 91 to 93,
basically.
Was it? Okay.
Yep. So the animosity between Vikernes and Euronymous reached a boiling point in early 1993. Amid growing attention from law enforcement and the media, Euronymous decided to shut down Helvete, further straining their relationship. The fateful night of August 10th, 1993, witnessed a gruesome event that would forever scar the annals of black metal history. What transpired upon their arrival was a harrowing confrontation that culminated in Vikernes fatally stabbing Euronymous. When the lifeless body of Euronymous was discovered outside his apartment in Oslo, it bore the gruesome evidence of 23 cut wounds to the head, 5 to the neck, and a staggering 16 to the back. Initially, the media pointed fingers at Swedish black metalers, but the truth was far more sinister. The motives behind the chilling murder have been subject to much speculation. Some believe it was triggered by a power struggle within the black metal community, while others point to the financial dispute revolving around Burzum Records. There's also a theory that it was an attempt to surpass a previous stabbing incident in Lillehammer by Faust. However, Vikernes vehemently denies all these claims, asserting that he acted in self-defense. He alleges that Euronymous had devised a sinister plan to incapacitate him with an electroshock weapon, bind him, and torture him to death, all while recording the horrific ordeal. According to Vikernes, Euronymous had intended to spring this ambush during a meeting supposedly about an unsigned contract. In Vikernes' account, he had merely planned to hand Euronymous the signed contract that night and firmly express his displeasure. However, events took a different turn when Euronymous allegedly launched an attack. Vikernes also contends that most of the cuts resulted from a broken glass that Euronymous had stumbled upon during their struggle. Faust cast doubt on Vikernes' self-defense story, while Necrobutcher corroborates Vikernes' version, emphasizing the death threats that he had received from Euronymous. So, just a little... With this, you can go into the story on Until the Light Takes Us and the aforementioned podcast and the other, because in episode 1, where they really talk about what kind of actually transpired.
Right.
Basically, what I'm thinking is that there was a contract dispute with Helvete shutting down. Right. There was turmoil boiling between the two, but Vikernes jumped in a car with another guy, I believe.
Was it Necrobutcher who corroborated the story?
No, Blackthorn, who was present during the murder. So they drove in a car for like miles and miles to this dude's house. It was like a 3-hour drive.
Okay.
So he obviously went there for some reason, and it was like 3 a.m, and he knocks on the door, and Euronymous was like, "What do you want?" And he's like, "Let me in." And then he didn't think, like Varg didn't think he was going to let him in, but he did let him in. And then a scuffle ensued, and then like it spilled out of the apartment, and then it like Euronymous like fell down the stairs and broke some glass. That's why he said it was a glass, but then he like stabbed him a bunch of times. And then he even said he stabbed him once so hard that the knife got like stuck in his head and he had to like pry it out of his head. And he was like all covered in blood, and he jumped in the car and they drove back another 3 hours. So like, I don't really think, like he says it was a self-defense, but why would you go to the dude's house at like 3 a.m. or whatever? And then like you're looking for trouble at that point, you know?
Yeah, nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, he has his own account of it, you know, and he'll stick to it. Like I said, you can, if you really want to laugh, go watch his YouTube channel. He talks about it, I believe, from jail on Until the Light Takes Us. But in Norway, the sentences there aren't. It says right here, he received a 21-year prison sentence. That's the maximum penalty in Norway.
Right.
Because they also are different than the American prison system, where I don't think they're private prisons, so they're not just looking to make $1 or whatever. They actually try to rehabilitate their people in there and hope that they paid for their crimes.
Right.
Whether 21 years is justifying or not for taking another life, probably not, especially when you're that young. Because you got to remember, these guys were like, probably 20, 21 by that time.
Right.
So 21 years, he was out in his 40s.
Yeah.
So now he's out making real shitty YouTube videos.
Yeah. Pushing his agenda, god damn it.
Yeah, pushing his Nazi agenda.
Fucker.
So, Blackthorn, who was present during the murder, later revealed that he felt neither for nor against it, simply didn't care about Euronymous. Jesus. He also shared that he had almost been committed to a mental hospital earlier in the summer. Varg Vikernes, however you want to say it, found himself under arrest on August 19, 1993, in Bergen. Simultaneously, other members of the black metal scene were brought in for questioning. Some confessed to their crimes and implicated others. In May 1994, Vikernes received a 21-year prison sentence, the maximum penalty in Norway. He was found guilty not only for the murder of Euronymous, but also for a string of church arsons and possession of the staggering 150 kilograms of explosives, although he admitted to the latter charge alone. 2 churches were set ablaze on the very day of Vikernes' sentencing, presumably as a symbolic show of support. An unsettling image captured Vikernes smiling upon hearing his verdict. A picture wildly circulated in the news media. Snore, his name is Snore, Blackthorn Rook, complicit in the murder, received an 8-year prison sentence.
The Getaway Driver, right?
Yeah.
Or,
he was there.
yeah.
During this turbulent period, Mayhem released their debut album, De Mysteriis Dom Santanas. Santanas?
Yeah.
Which featured Euronymous on guitar and Vikernes on bass guitar. Despite Euronymous' family's request to remove Vikernes' bass tracks, the drummer of Mayhem, Hellhammer, chose to retain them, stating, I thought it was appropriate that the murderer and the victim were on the same record. I put the word out that I was re-recording the bass parts, but I never did.
Jesus.
In a bizarre twist, Vikernes failed to return to Tonsberg prison in 2003 after a brief leave. He was swiftly rearrested while driving a stolen vehicle with various weapons in his possession. Ultimately, Vikernes was granted parole in 2009.
What a shit.
Yeah.
all of them. What a shit.
Yeah, these guys are fucking clowns, really. All of these guys are weirdos. I mean, no one really deserved to lose their life, and obviously there was mental issues beyond, but they must have just been bored. You know?
I think I'm trying to put it into like scope. So this is like the 90s in Norway. Okay, it's not like everybody's sharing the same globe like we do today.
Mm-hmm.
We all just get on the computer and bam. It's a world wide web.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yep.
It is what it is. We didn't really have that. We didn't have it like we do today. Today it's instantaneous.
Oh, yeah.
You just get
on your phones, on your pocket.
Yeah. Before it was way more controlled. It rolled out way more slowly in the news media. You had news every day, and you had newspapers every day.
Mm-hmm.
But you weren't really just like living the culture the same across the world. And we all have different cultures, sure. But I'm guessing 90s Norway was fucking boring. To tears.
Yeah.
Like just, oh my God, it's boring out here. And thus you get black metal and the behavior that goes with the extreme black metal. So yeah, that's sad. I'm sure there were just some people that were like, yeah, this music jams and it's fun to listen to. And then you got a bunch of crackheads or what have you running around just burning churches and blowing heads off. It's fucking crazy.
Well, I mean, just think of if you like use that energy wisely, what you could have probably accomplished.
Yeah,
you know?
really.
It's like, but these guys are bored. They're just hanging out in the record shop. Like, we're gonna move beyond this because this whole podcast, part 1 and part 2, isn't really directed. Like, I kind of gave you an overview, but there's other stories about like it was so dark in there. Like their whole thing in the record shop was to be so black metal, and it was all lit by candles, but that it was like so dark in there you couldn't even look at the records. It was just stupid shit like that. Like these guys were trying to like so hard to like be black metal that it was like ridiculous. Like
That's funny.
Instead of just living your life and like it's cool to be dark and see that side of you, but come on, if you're having a record shop, you need your patrons to like see the covers of the records they're trying to buy, even if it's quote unquote commercial napalm death shit or whatever.
Right.
It's like
it's hilarious looking back on it. It's weird. It's weird too. It seems like a lot of mental illness, but just going around and all of them attracted to each other
and them stern beliefs. Like all of a sudden they got embedded at 19. This is the way I believe.
Indoctrinated.
So I'm just going to continue to like go down this path, and it's this or nothing. So we're going to go to black metal beyond Norway because obviously black metal scopes beyond wave 1 and then wave 2, which was the big Norwegian black metal scene. This is where we're going to start pushing forward black metal and how it comes into some other parts of the world. And, obviously I highlighted that scene because of wave 2 that was like big and that brought black metal into the spotlight.
Right.
So whether that helped, which it seemed like it kind of did in a negative way, like
any publicity is good publicity.
Right, exactly. So it really pushed the actual genre forward, and everybody was focusing on black metal. Yeah, the reputation behind it is like, I guess if that was their job, they did a good job because it's like, oh, they burn churches, they murder people, it's evil, people blow their own heads off. Dude makes brain stew out of his friend's brains, allegedly.
I mean, and we did similar with the death metal thing. It just wasn't anywhere near as like brutal and dark as the black metal history, right? Like we talked about where it came from, but I felt like all we were talking about then was Headbangers Ball and Beavis and Butthead,
right?
And Ace Ventura, like just kind of breaking into the mainstream versus like black metal, where they're doing all kinds of extracurricular outside of the music, outside of the stage and the show.
So I highlighted the notorious Norwegian scene, but black metal became part of extreme music everywhere. As the flames of the Norwegian black metal continued to flicker, similar scenes began to emerge across mainland Europe into the early 1990s. These scenes drew inspiration from both the Norwegian black metal movement and older bands. In Poland, the charge was led by Graveland and Behemoth. Behemoth, love Behemoth.
Been around a minute.
Yeah, they've been around for a while. In France, a closely knit collective of musicians known as Les Legions Noirs took shape, featuring acts like Mutilation, Vlad Tepes, Belkotri, and Torgeist. Belgium made its mark with bands like Ancient Rites and Enthroned. Meanwhile, the United States saw the rise of acts like Black Funeral, Grand Belial's Key, and Judas Iscariot. Mentioned again. They must have made an impact. I mean,
cannot outrun Judas Iscariot.
No. Notably, Black Funeral, originating from Houston in 1993, was associated with themes of black magic and Satanism. England also had its share of noteworthy black metal, with Cradle of Filth emerging as a prominent group. They initially released 3 demos in a black death metal style with symphonic elements before unleashing the album The Principle of Evil Made Flesh, which showcased a unique fusion of black and gothic metal. However, they eventually shifted away from black metal towards gothic metal, achieving substantial success in extreme metal realm. So you talked a little bit about Cradle of Filth on our Slept On Bands episode, I believe.
Yeah.
You talked a little bit about seeing them live.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel like they were probably one of the first bands to start melding all of these elements.
Okay.
I mean, it's always this cross-genre blend. It's hard to put subgenres on things, right?
Sure.
But I think they always did a good job. Yeah, they lean towards the goth more now. Like they're a little less heavy, but they've always had the black metal elements, not just the corpse paint, not just the high banshee shrieking vocals.
Right.
They just always kind of had some grind. They've had the trem picking riffs, some shitty sound guitar at times. But
I've loved Cradle of Filth when you talk about the diversity in their catalog, over time, from just being like black death metal to incorporating the doom and the goth sounds and being more diverse, and more power to Danny Filth putting all of those things into one band and making it sound cohesive. It's it's like progressive black metal, if you will.
Yeah.
I love what he's done in Cradle of Filth. I'm not going to sit here and rattle off the catalog to you, and name everything that I love about him, but their latter work too especially appeals to me. So and again, that's a testament to him incorporating all of those different influences. So black metal crossover band originators, probably Cradle of Filth, one of them for me. I mean, in that wave, I mean, they were really starting to pull in more influences, it seems, compared to their contemporaries.
You could even see Behemoth was almost like that too, where they've had some other instruments. They kind of didn't have as many of the like symphonic elements and things going on. They've added different elements, but they almost went from like straight black metal to like more almost death metal with like Demigod around that area where like they're blackened death metal.
Right.
And now they've come all the way back to like this black and roll style. Like some of their stuff now isn't even that heavy to me, which is disappointing, but like I guess every band has to evolve. But that middle area Behemoth, that black and death metal, that's really up my alley.
I like that phrase, black and roll. I hadn't heard that yet. That's cool.
So Cradle of Filth's debut album stirred both praise and controversy, with some seeing it as a bold departure from black metal's traditional roots. This shifted promoted debates within the black metal community, with vocalist Danny Filth expressing that while their music embodied black metal philosophically and atmospherically, it deviated in other aspects.
For the best.
In England, another band named Necropolis never actually released any music, but left an indelible mark by instigating a campaign of desecration against churches and cemeteries in their region. I don't know why I was like, what the hell? This audacious move almost led to a ban on black metal in Britain, sparking intense debates.
Can't ban the art.
He's like, they never released any music, but they just fuck shit up.
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
Yeah.
Jesus.
The scene in Germany also garnered attention, particularly due to controversial band Absurd, which I guess is a good name for that.
Yeah.
In 1993, members of Absurd committed a heinous crime by murdering a fellow student, Sandro Bayer. Chillingly, a photograph of Bayer's gravestone was featured on the cover of one of their demos. Thuringian Pagan Madness, alongside pro-Nazi statements. Recorded in prison, it was released in Poland by Capricornus, the drummer of Graveland. Interestingly, Absurd's early music bore more influence from oi and rock against communism, RAC, the traditional black metal, than traditional black metal, drawing comparisons to 60s garage punk rather than the black metal of their contemporaries. 60s garage punk. No thanks.
I don't even know that was a thing. That's a thing. I guess I didn't know that punk music existed in the 60s.
Yeah, I don't know. Alexander von Meilenwald from the German band Neglifar pinpointed several recordings as pivotal for the German scene, including On God's Circle of the Seven Infernal Pacts in 1993, Disaster's Lost of the Ages demo. Would you say that? Disasters?
Yeah, why
it's not spelled like that.
No, but yeah, Disasters.
Thanor's Wolfensiedler 1995, Lunar Aurora's debut. Man.
Weltenganger.
Yeah, there you go.
Weltenganger.
Yeah, Weltenganger. I like that. In 1996, and Catharsis debut 666 in 2000, all of which played a role in shaping the scene. As the second wave of black metal gained momentum, it began to diversify in distinct regional styles. Alan Mathingia Averill aptly describes this period as one where you had the Greek sound and the Finnish sound and the Norwegian sound, and then there were German and Swiss bands and so on. By the mid-1990s, the Norwegian black metal style started influencing bands worldwide. In fact, by 1998, Malcolm Dome of Kerrang! Journalists asserted that black metal as we know it in 1998 owes more to Norway and Scandinavia than any other particular country. So that's, I think, where you get like the true cult. Like, are you true black metal? Are you that true Norwegian sound? Or are you just mixing sounds and then you get all of this separatism like among bands and
fans
and subgenres and all that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely the one true Norwegian style, and then again, there's the subgenres that kind of spawned off of it. So,
during this era, newer black metal bands began to enhance their production quality and experimented with additional instruments like synths and even full symphony orchestras. However, this evolution didn't come without controversy. Everything's fucking controversy with these assholes. Everything's controversial. It's not black metal. Just make music. Shut the fuck up, man.
It's because they can't laugh.
Yeah.
It's got to be controversy and drama.
Mad.
Yeah.
That's controversial.
Dim the lights, please.
Yeah, for guys that are mad all the time, they sure cry about all that shit.
That tracks. I can think of some people at home here that they're just like that, living in our very own borders.
Yeah, just pissed all the time about something. Like, gotta find something to be mad about. Can you just worship Satan and smile like the rest of everybody else? Jesus Christ. So, by the late 1990s, some underground enthusiasts accused several Norwegian pioneers, including Emperor Immortal, Dimmu Borgir, Ancient Covenant / The Covenant, and Satyricon, of commercializing their music and selling out to mainstream labels. Here we go again, selling out mainstream black metal.
Oh, man.
Because you guys actually used good production and wanted people to enjoy your music. Yeah. That's not just the 7 people in Norway.
Right, and not only that, but I mean, I think people are allowed to grow their sound a little bit instead of just writing the same song over and over again. And some bands have been wildly successful at that, but not everybody has the same motivations to just keep writing the same style.
Yeah,
to just nonstop. So yeah, these bands are like, oh, more studio time, more instruments, cool. Let's grow. Let's make it a bigger sound, make it a bigger thing.
And that's why I don't want to. There at times I could have gone about the newer Behemoth catalog just because those guys have always been like one of my favorite bands. I don't really, it's just not really for me because it's just a little slow and droning and he gets really into like
they've been around
preaching his ideology and his religion, whatever that is, which is Satanism. And it's almost like this call to the devil in a slow, droning weird manner, and to me I just want the fast death metal with the layered vocals and just the grind and the groove and all the stuff that I fell in love with the band for, but I also don't expect them to do everything just for me. So it's like
it's hard to grow with a band. Obviously, like a band is gonna grow, most bands are gonna diverge away from their sound a little bit as they grow, but try to keep it, but grow it. But for fans, it's you either grow with them or you grow apart. It's pretty simple. Like along the way, you can just say, yeah, that album is where they lost me.
Yeah.
And then everything they did after that just confused me further to where I'm not a fan of them now.
Yep.
And that's okay. Like I'm still with the Behemoth thing. I'm okay with it. The Black and Roll made me smile because I'm like, yeah, that is what it is. It's not death metal, really not like when you think of death or black and death metal. But I'm still cool with them. But again, I see where you're coming from because the change is apparent over time.
Yeah,
and that's what happens when you've been around for so long. Is you're gonna either be AC/DC or Slayer,
right.
and kind of keep churning out that product that you know your fans are gonna buy and refine it, and that's fine. But I think they've grown a lot different over the years.
And I can't shit on that.
No, we've done that to a degree too.
Yeah, I get it. I understand it. Like
100.
you can't make the same album. And bands like, I know this isn't black metal. I don't want to get too off on too of a tangent, but bands like In Flames, they've kind of went way almost commercial, and now they're back to like just ripping. So it's like really. It sucks when they lose you because it's hard to come back to some of their stuff that may kick ass now.
Yeah.
It took me a long time to listen to the new In Flames.
Sure.
I heard it was better, but I didn't believe it until I listened to it.
Right.
So it was just,
you gotta have to allow for your favorite band to kind of put out some of your least favorite music, if you will, and then just still allow them to be a band that you like and that shit on them, because it sucks when you come back around like, hey, remember when I used to shit on my favorite band? I like them again.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy. I've probably been that guy too.
Oh yeah, I've been that guy, and that's why I say I don't want to shit on like Behemoth because like, people still like it. And
I
they're
still go and
selling
see
records. I still I listened to the Satanist the other day. I tried to give it a chance, and I was like, I just can't. I just don't like it.
Yeah,
I just can't get into it.
I'll go see him live though. They're fun.
Oh yeah, for sure,
absolutely.
So, following the tragic death of Euronymous, the black metal landscape saw a divergence in styles. Some bands delved deeper into the abyss, while others embraced a Viking metal and epic style. The Swedish black metal scene in 1993 had been marked by church burnings, grave desecrations, and other violent acts. In 1995, John Nefertiti of Dissection joined the Misanthropic Luciferian Order, MLO, for all you homeowners out there that want to look it up. However, in 1997, he and another MLO member were arrested and charged with the murder of a 37-year-old man. Their motive was cited as anger stemming from alleged harassment by the victim. Nativit received a 10-year prison sentence. Amidst the troubling events, Dissection faced allegations of being a Nazi band due to the victim being a homosexual immigrant. Nevertheless, Nativit vehemently denied such affiliations and disavowed racism and nationalism. After his release in 2004, John Nativit resurrected Dissection with new members who he felt could uphold the band's satanic concept. He boldly referred to Dissection as the sonic propaganda unit of the MLO and released their third full-length album, Rekinos, featuring lyrics based on the organization's teaching. Afterward, Nativit expressed that music had limitations in conveying his message, disbanded Dissection, and tragically ended his life through suicide. So,
again, when as you're telling me these stories, that you're kind of telling them as they're reported, information wise, but I'm just hearing mental illness over and over again, and it just seems to be like now as you're telling the story over and over again, it seems to be a breeding ground for mentally ill people, and I don't want that to be a broad brushstroke for all fans of black metal. God, that sounds horrifying. Oh, I listen to black metal, there's something wrong with me. No, but there's so many acts of expressed mental illness coming through because of it being a breeding ground for extreme behavior. Check on your friends. Jesus Christ.
Right.
Like, Jesus Christ. Guys, I'm really into this MLO thing. We talk about Satan all day, and we're probably going to do some heinous things. You want to be in it? No. Let's sit down.
So before I learned all of this, like I like Dissection. I think they're one of the cooler like black metal bands. They lean a little bit towards the death metal style. I think I mentioned that before on this podcast that you would probably like them too because they are one of the bands that I listen to, and I was like, okay, these guys are fucking sweet. They got pretty good production, pretty good songwriting. It's like, but I know they were big in the black metal scene. But there's black metal bands that I try to pull out that I'll actually listen to, and these guys were one of them. But I do agree with the mental illness part. But at the same time, like I guess you got to get away to. Mentally ill people, they're all seems like a lot of artists, right? So you're an artist.
Yeah.
But if you're firm in those beliefs and you tie that in with your art
Yeah.
And you got a little bit of that mental illness. That's just a recipe for black metal.
Yeah. Some of these things don't. Some of these things are not for everyone.
Right.
Some of this art is not for everyone, you know, and when people make it their life, you know, art imitating life, life imitating art, and then you throw in just a dash of mental illness and instability. Unfortunately you get some of this, and there's just a lot more reported on it. And I think that's because of the wild belief system that a lot of them held.
Mm-hmm. So on August 13, 2006, the world of metal was shaken by the tragic news of John Notfitte's death. He was found lifeless in a Hasselby apartment with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound encircled by lit candles, creating an eerie scene that baffled many. Initial reports hinted at a chilling detail, an open copy of the Satanic Bible beside him. However, Dissection's guitarist Set T10 later clarified this detail, dispelling any misconceptions. It wasn't Anton LaVey's The Satanic Bible, associated with atheism and humanism, that John had before him. Instead, it was a satanic grimoire. John had a strong aversion to LaVey and the Church of Satan.
I'm glad they cleared that up.
Yeah, I'm glad we got that.
I wasn't going to be able to sleep tonight.
We got to tell our Satans apart here. You know, it's not the same. This satanic grimoire was rumored to be the Liber Azerate, one of the publications of the misanthropic Luciferian order, a cult to which Notfitte had belonged since its early days. The lyrics of Dissection's final album, Rankios, were a collaborative effort between Notfitte and his friend Vlad, who authored the Liber Azerate under the pseudonym Frater Namidal. In the wake of John's suicide, his brother Emil, known as Nightmare Industries, that's a weird name, who played rhythm guitar and keyboards for the gothic industrial metal band Death Stars, penned a poignant song called Via the End. This heartfelt composition found its place on the 5th track on Death Star's 2009 album Night Electric Night.
That sounds like death or black metal musicians are people too.
Yeah. John Notfitte had a unique perspective on life and death. He once expressed, "The Satanist decides of his own life and death and prefers to go out with a smile on his lips when he has reached the peak of his life, when he had accomplished everything and aims to transcend this earthly existence." For him, suicide wasn't a solution to sadness or misery. Instead, a Satanist, in his view, embraced death as a conscious choice, a final act of strength rather than succumbing to age, disease, or depression. To him, death was the ultimate culmination of life, a powerful and intense climax to be chosen over dishonor.
Well, maybe that's what separates us from the animal kingdom, our decision-making abilities. I don't know. For me, I'm kind of here for the natural run of it. I'll just kind of let time take me, no matter what philosophies.
Yeah.
I mean, I see where he's coming from.
Yeah, I was going to say the same exact thing.
I don't want to wither away, and a lot of people don't want to suffer dementia or watch people suffer dementia and other debilitating things. And maybe we're not really meant to grow that old and feeble. Like
right.
we kind of have allowed we've made ourselves able to live that old. But we were just talking before the podcast, like about exercise. We used to run from saber-toothed tigers or whatever, you know. We used to run for our lives through the woods and climb trees to hide from things that would eat us. Yeah, you know.
That's so, the old monster in the night, monster under the bed thing. It's the saber-toothed tiger it's natural evolution. So some of us didn't. A lot of us didn't make it that long anyway.
Yeah. So it's definitely a philosophy to roll around in your head, but for me, I'm here until I'm taken from here. That's where I am.
Until something happens.
Yeah.
But like, I agree with you. I see where he's coming from this, whether it was your beliefs or not. Like, I don't condone this behavior.
Right.
Like, don't take your own life. But like, if you feel like you've accomplished everything and there's nothing left, and you don't want to go out and wither away, I guess you want to shut the light off when you want to. I guess it is what it is.
Mostly, I still feel like it's mental illness, and that's just me personally. I'm not a mental health expert, but yeah, that line of thinking is something that should be looked at and examined more personally.
So the Swedish band Shining, formed in 1996, chose a rather unique path. They centered their music almost exclusively around themes of depression and suicide, drawing musical inspiration from Stride and Burzum's albums like Heves Lasat Tar Oss and Filosofem. Initially, vocalist Nicholas Cobforth labeled their style as suicidal black metal. However, by 2001, he distanced himself from the term as he believed it had been misinterpreted by other bands who turned it into a form of therapy rather than a weapon against the listener, as he intended. Cobforth remarked that he wouldn't call Shining a black metal band and dismissed the suicidal black metal label as a foolish idea. According to Eric Danielson, when his band Waitin emerged in 1998, they were among a few bands that approached black metal with the same seriousness as the early Norwegian scene. This newer generation of Swedish satanic bands, including Waitin and Odskapt, breathed fresh life into the scene. Cobforth noted that it seemed like people actually got afraid again. Notably, the current Swedish black metal scene delves into mysticism and its significance within the black metal. Bands like Waitin and Dissection are, or were, associated with the Temple of the Black Light, or Misanthropic Luciferian Order, MLO, a theistic, Gnostic, satanic organization based in Sweden. So basically what they're saying is that MLO thing is still alive, and Waitin is a band, and Waitin's still going. They're still out there going strong.
Yeah, just for me, I just see more yellow and or red flags when you start associating your art with an organized religion. Is what I'm like. Am I not understanding things here? But this is a misanthropic Luciferian order, so this is a on the books cult or religion, and they're bashing the others to say mine's better. Gee, where have I seen this before? You know, like, come on, they can't even like be objective about what. I'm sorry, it just again, for me, it's where I get like just frustrated with the religion in it. Like, I don't care, man. I just I get annoyed by it, quite frankly. You're selling me your religion through your art. I'm actually like, get out of here. I'm annoyed by you. I would rather you just sing about fantasy shit.
Right.
I would rather you just come out and say, yeah, we just sing about make-believe, because that's what it is to me when you're selling me your religion.
Right.
Only you're over on the other side telling me you're serious, and I'm over here going, how? Yeah. Are you even taking yourself seriously right now? But again, whatever.
Yeah,
whatever. It's just, that's for me a part of where I cannot connect so much to this music. I'm like, these guys are out there taking themselves seriously, and I look over and I'm like, well, I did too, but I also just didn't sell people religion through my art. So that's where I'm completely lost on it.
I think that's, not to get off on a tangent again, but like with like Deicide, I always thought that was funny because they were like the satanic death metal band, right?
Super
Love me
serious.
some Deicide.
Yeah.
But they sing about Christ just as much as a Christian band does. Like their whole thing is to sing about anti-Christ.
Yeah.
So you're still spending that energy singing about Christ, but just in a different way. Like you're singing about Satan, right? But like, it was just always funny to me because I'm like, you're spending all this energy, like basically doing the same thing as like the Christians would do. Like, I don't understand. But.
Just on that note, I wonder over the course of time since Deicide has been a band, like how many fans within their ranks have just jumped the fence and said, yeah, I'm done with this Satan stuff. And I got to figure a lot of it is because of the lyrical content where you're just like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of the Satan thing, and maybe it's time to convert or like, redeem myself and save my soul. I bet that number is higher than Glenn would like to admit.
That, and I don't want to peg anybody for what they like or don't like, but I have to understand that you can be a fan of music and not be introspective at all or have any like worldly thinking about you. You might just be a basic consumer. You might have a very minimal range of what's going on in your brain. So like
those thoughts aren't even really relevant or important to you.
Yeah, but the Satan thing is just like, oh, I'm cool with 14 albums of this. Like it's getting 15th. It doesn't matter. Cool with it, whatever. Fuck it. We got 10 more songs you can crank out about Satan, right?
Yeah.
I mean, shit. So within the underground scene, some embraced a Jungian interpretation of the church burnings and other early acts as the resurgence of ancient archetypes. They intertwined this interpretation with elements of paganism and nationalism. Mark Vikernes was seen by some as I can't even finish that. Ideological messiah. Jesus. mental illness, despite the disassociation from black metal and his neo-Nazism having no direct connection to the subculture. This ideological shift gave rise to the National Socialist Black Metal, NSBM, which Hendrik Mobius of Absurd considered the logical conclusion of the Norwegian black metal movement. However, this perspective faced opposition within the scene, and some viewing it as incompatible with Satanism and asotru, or simply with skepticism and indifference. In France, alongside Les Legions Norris, the Black Legions, and NSBM scene emerged. Disturbingly, members of the French band Funeral desecrated a grave in Toulon in June 1996, and a 19-year-old black metal fan fatally stabbed a priest in Mulhouse on Christmas Eve in 1996. The early French scene seemed to segregate into either NSBM with widespread support or the Black Legions with the elusive cult aura. Bands like Deathspell Omega and Ulshoth took different approach, embracing an avant-garde style characterized by discordant soundscapes.
Like that.
In the United States, early black metal bands remained firmly rooted underground. Some like Grand Belial's Key and Judas Iscariot joined the international NSBM organization called the Pagan Front. However, Judas Iscariot's sole member, Akhenaten, eventually left the organization. We will have to play some of this on the podcast because for as much as we shit on him, like Akhenaten,
yeah.
we'll have to like bring some of this up someday so you guys can hear how amazing Judas Iscariot actually is.
Did it get better over time?
No.
Oh, that's too bad.
I don't even know how many albums I have. I just know we happened to stumble across that one. I didn't realize he played such a huge role in the black metal scene. But I guess
even back then, that's probably why.
That's probably why that dude recommended it to me.
Yeah.
It's like, this is amazing.
It's one guy doing a bunch of racket.
Yeah, thanks for that. These U.S. bands adopted a wide range of styles, ranging from music inspired by Burzum to death metal and even rip-offs of Gorgoroth riffs. Meanwhile, bands like Zalthur and Leviathan incorporated elements of depression and suicide into their music and lyrics. I've always had a problem with this band name. I've seen it a million times, but
Knockmistium,
Krallis, Wolves in the Throne Room, and Liturgy brought post-rock and shoegazing influences into their work, diverging from traditional black metal lyrical themes. Australia also saw burgeoning scene led by bands like Destroyer 666, Vomitor, Hobbs' Angel of Death, Nocturnal Graves, and Gospel of the Horns. The scene blended old-school black metal with raw thrash metal, drawing inspiration from iconic acts like Celtic Frost, Bathory, Venom, and Sodom, while adding their own unique elements.
Yeah, as you're reading all of these band names, note the ones that are easy to pronounce are the ones that became more famous.
Yeah. Yep.
Pretty simple. So if anybody's listening to the podcast, especially younger kids forming their bands, if your band name doesn't just roll out of your mouth like something every day, like it's just a phrase that people have said all the time, and then you might have a band name that people aren't going to say. I don't even know how to, like Sanguisugabog. Oh my God, how did you become anything with a band name that difficult to read or pronounce? Like,
and those guys are huge right now.
Huge, but they're
everything.
But they're an outlier. So all of these other names, Celtic Frost, Bathory, Venom, Sodom, those band names have had staying power because they're very easy to read and say, and people are drawn to them. And it's probably one member of the band saying, "Hey, we need an easy band name to speak." Like, it's just that. It really is that simple. If I can't read or say your band name, band logo aside, like if your band name, if I cannot read it, and that's not to sit here and bash any of these European names that we just cannot pronounce.
Yeah, I was gonna say, that's just I knew this episode. I've had pronunciation issues with and I just knew this episode was gonna be a fucking monster for me because I just don't know. I try my best, but I just don't know with some of this.
No, but and that's another language, and at the end of the day, that's just fun to just sit there and go, "Oh man, what does that say?"
Yeah.
Let's have it.
Somebody's probably real pissed. They're like, "What, dude?
They're already pissed. It's black metal."
Yeah, that is true. You ain't smiling anyway, so fuck off. I don't care.
No smiling.
So now we're gonna get a little bit into like Middle Eastern black metal here.
I'm so made of questions.
So in Jerusalem, 1993 saw the formation of Metalheads, the first overtly anti-Christian band and one of the holiest cities globally. Metalheads initially adhered to a straightforward black metal style, but ventured into folk metal territory with their 1996 EP, The Siege of Lassiche. Their subsequent albums dabbled in black death and thrash metal, blending these influences with Mesopotamian folk music. Another band, Aurelu, established in the late 1990s, had connections with Metalheads and Salem, contributing to what they referred to as. Since the 2000s, a noteworthy phenomenon has arisen in the Middle East, where several black metal bands with members of Muslim backgrounds had embraced an anti-Islamic and anti-religious themes. Among these bands, Janaza stands out as a significant figure, notably as Iraq's first female black metal artist. In 2010, they made waves with the release of their demo, Burning Quran Ceremony. Antahita, the frontwoman of Janaza, has a harrowing personal history, claiming that her parents and brother fell victim to a suicide bomb during the Iraq War.
So this is where it starts to get even more hairy with the beliefs in the music, because now you're in an extreme neighborhood in Jerusalem. You really don't mess around, so you get caught listening to this stuff. It could be your head, literally.
And even being a woman, for that matter.
Yeah, so interesting, but also still concerning.
Yeah. Another Iraqi band, Seeds of Iblis, formed by Anita herself, entered the scene with their debut EP, Jihad Against Islam, in 2011, which they released through the French label Legion of Death. However, it's worth noting that some skepticism has arisen regarding the authenticity of these bands' claims and being based in Iraq. Metal news website Metal Illuminati has even suggested that these claims might be a hoax. These bands, including Tandiz from Saudi Arabia, Hala from Iran, False Allah from Bahrain, and Mosque of Satan from Lebanon, collectively refer to themselves as the Arabic Anti-Islamic Legion. Meanwhile, Ayat, another Lebanese band, garnered considerable attention with their debut album titled 6 Years of Dormant Hatred, which North American label Moribund Records released in 2008. It's interesting to note that this trend isn't confined to the Middle East alone. Some European bands have also ventured into expressing anti-Islamic views, with Norwegian outfit Tak being one of the most notable examples.
And I just personally, as I'm hearing this segment of the podcast, I'm thinking to myself, the people who are in the black metal bands in the Middle East, way bigger set of balls than the people that are in the black metal bands in Norway burning down wooden churches. These people are over here now taking a stand against, an actively extremist community, like lives on the line. I'm not sitting here taking their side in matters, because basically it sounded like a pro-jihad thing,
right?
Fighting against Islam. I'm not for any of it. Like all of that shit, it dies here. Like I'm not for any of it. So I just want to say that, like, being in that neck of the woods and saying the things that they're saying against Islam versus burning down churches in Norway, where Christianity really ain't that big a deal. You have a lot of Viking heritage. I mean, I don't know. I don't feel like they're the same thing. I think it takes way more, cojones to like sing about that sort of stuff in the Middle East. Nobody even goes there because of that.
Yeah, I mean, that's what they
Not
live from morning till night. So, like,
Yeah.
you're speaking against that at all. Like, but I'm pro speaking against all of that shit, because we're on the verge of fucking World War III because of these assholes over here and their beliefs.
Yeah.
And we may get nuked because of your fucking stupid beliefs. That's the way I feel.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that, and just kind of like way in the back burner, like, oh, we got trouble in paradise again. What do you know? Like, we got to be in it. We got to go over there and, like, let everybody know. Like, this is our city over the ocean. We control that, and everybody's gonna play by our rules. So yeah, it's a hairy situation over there, and it doesn't take much to stoke the flames. So
yeah. And it seems to be getting stoked by the minute. So
yeah.
Well, with what you can actually believe from the media too, because a lot of that is just bullshit and hype, and I try not to.
I don't feed it.
Yeah, I try not to feed it.
Yeah.
because then I'm just going to be depressed and anxious all day.
Yeah, was just having this talk with somebody the other day. I was like, I cut out all the news sources. Why? Because it's the same thing every day, only they heighten it depending on whatever. And I just don't feed it a lot. We'll see if this podcast makes it to the air. If there still is humanity by the time Christmas comes this year.
I hope so, but who knows? Might not be. So
yeah, good for the moment.
So when it comes to the sound of black metal, there is a notable divide within the genre, with two conflicting groups emerging. Those that adhere strictly to the genre's roots and those who introduce progressive elements into their music. The former group staunchly believes that black metal should maintain its minimalist essence, sticking to a classic guitar-based drum setup and recording in a lo-fi style. An advocate for this approach is Blake Judd of Notch Mysticism, who has refrained from labeling his band as black metal due to their deviation from the genre's traditional sound. On the contrary, figures like Snod Rook of Thorns argue that modern black metal has become too confined and narrow, straying from its original essence. They believe that diversity and innovation should be embraced. Since the 1990s, various styles of black metal have evolved, with some incorporating elements from the Norwegian-style black metal into other genres. Here are a few noteworthy subgenres. So just like in the death metal episode, and it spawned so many subgenres, black metal did the same. So as we're winding this episode down, I'm going to go through some of these subgenres of black metal. If you don't hear your favorite on here, let us know what that favorite is. Yeah, send me a letter in the mail. I'll make sure I open it. I got quite a few here, so we're going to do some subgenres, and then, like I said, at the very end of the episode, I have a list of like 50 black metal bands. I'm just going to ramble them off and maybe note if there's a few that stick out to me. But just so the listener, if you want to, you can listen to this episode and you can go through and check out some of these bands. So I just listed 50. Your favorite may not be on there. May have missed some cool ones. If I did, leave us a comment and let us know what ones we did miss.
I'm sure you got the best of them on there.
So we're going to start right off. We're going to go in alphabetical order. So we got ambient black metal. So this style embraces atmospheric and dreamy textures, offering a less aggressive approach to black metal. It frequently incorporates synths and classical instrumentation to create melodic and ethereal layers over a wall of sound generated by guitars. The music typically adopts a slow to mid-paced tempo, occasionally using blast beats sparingly. The lyrical themes often revolve around nature, folklore, mythology, and personal introspection. Artists like Elegok and Wolves in the Throne Room fall into this category.
Yeah, that sounds like a subgenre I'd be keen on.
Yeah, so I think that one you would like. Probably slow, mid-paced, very open.
Yeah, I like the atmospheric sounds to it, too. Some of the other things you were mentioning that incorporated folk sounds, I wanted to go back and check out some of those band names, too, because folk music is something I like outside of metal as well. I love like In Flames, the incorporation of that folk music. What else you got?
So Black Doom. Combining the heaviness and bass-driven sound of doom metal with the shrieking vocals and distorted guitar of black metal. Black doom bands maintain the satanic ideology while delving into moodier themes like depression, nihilism, and nature. Bands like Barathurum, Forgotten Tomb, and Woods of Ypres, Dinakius, Shining, North, Bethlehem, Early Catatonia, Tiamat, DeLorean, and October Tide. Those are all bands that would be kind of considered black doom.
Yeah, I'm with some of that too, but I think some of that drones on a little bit and it can be very repetitive. So, but when you're talking about depression and nihilism, fits.
Yeah. So depressive suicidal black metal, originating from bands like Apothalamia, Catatonia, and Bethlehem, the style melds second wave black metal with doom metal. Lyrically, it delves into themes like depression, self-harm, misanthropy, suicide, and death. This music incorporates elements of both black and doom metal, combining lo-fi recording techniques and distorted guitars with acoustic instruments. Bands like Zathir, Leviathan, Stride Silencer, Make a Change, Kill Yourself, that's one band name, Make a Change, ... Kill Yourself, Life Lover, and I Shalt Become are known for their contributions of the subgenre.
Yep.
So what's weird is the depressive suicidal black metal and black doom really aren't that far apart as far as
it might be a matter of production quality right there.
Yeah, with the lo-fi.
I do see some of the same band names, and that could be different eras of those bands. But because like the Black Doom, that sounds like something I would listen to. The depressive suicidal black metal sounds like something I would not listen to.
So black and roll, blending elements of 1970s hard rock and roll with black metal, black and roll bands that infuse a rock and roll spirit into their black metal sound are Midnight, Calvertech. Remember, that was a band that we checked out.
And that tracks. That sounds like.
Definitely did. So, Vrede and Cold, bands such as Satyricon, Dark Throne,
Nocmistium,
Neidinger, Kraft, and Sark also experimented within this genre.
And I think he mentioned that Behemoth rolled into the style.
Yeah,
along
now
the way.
they kind of remind me more of that, where there's like some rock and roll drum beats going on over like this droning kind of.
Yeah. But
so some newer Behemoth definitely could be black and roll.
And this sounds like something that could be fun, but I don't think I would have a lot of interest in the black and roll. Like, yeah, fun. It makes me think of like if Ghosts were to just all of a sudden rip out a black metal riff in the middle of one of their songs, and make it work, and then you'd have black and roll. Like, it just seems like there's that going on, and I don't know how cohesive that would be for me if I would like that.
So, black and crust punk groups such as Antisec, Sacrilege, and Anti-System drew influence from early black metal bands like Venom, Hellhammer, and Celtic Frost. Ambix's lead vocalist and guitarist even sent his band's early demo tape to Kronos of Venom, who replied by saying, "We'll rip you off."
Okay.
Similarly, Bathory found inspiration in both crust punk and heavy metal. Crust punk underwent an influence from the second wave of black metal in the 1990s, with some bands emphasizing these black metal elements. One of the most prominent examples of the second wave black metal influenced crust punk is Iskra, who coined the term black and crust to describe their new style. The Japanese group Gallhammer also fused crust punk with black metal, while the English band Fuck Pig has been noted for having elements of crust punk, black metal, and grindcore. North Carolina's Young and In the Way have been playing black and crust since their formation in 2009. Notably, Norwegian band Dark Throne has incorporated crust punk traits into their more recent material. As Daniel Ekeroth wrote in 2008, there has been an ironic paradox where black metal and crust punk have started to embrace each other. Members of Dark Throne and Satyricon have claimed their love for punk, while among crust punk enthusiasts, black metal has become the latest trend. The latest album by crust punk band Skepticism sounds very black metal, while Dark Throne's latest black metal opus sounds very punk. This would have been unimaginable in the early 1990s.
To me, it sounds like where Racket meets Racket.
Yeah, I can really see how that like really crosses the line there, because like grind is grind to me. So if I listen to it, I'd be like, yeah, there's a lot of grind going on here. There's either it must be just the chord shapes you're using at that point, because punk's just gonna be more of the power chords or like the down-tuned one chord, right? Where the black metal is gonna be more of them open atmospheric minor chords. So that might be. To me, that's where I'm sounding probably the difference. So.
I feel like the similarities there are just going to be in the drum work, like just the punk beats.
Oh yeah,
and then moving that into a grind or a blast.
Yeah, for sure. So Red in anarchist black metal, referred to RABM, this subgenre combines black metal with anarchist crust punk, promoting ideologies such as anarchism, environmentalism, or Marxism. It emerged as a response to National Socialist. I don't know why I cannot all of a sudden say that word. National Socialist black metal, which is NSBM, and features bands like Ixra,
Panopticon,
Skago, Storm of Sedation, Not a Cost, and Black Chronostad. Black and Death Doom. This genre combines the slow tempos and heavy drumming of doom metal with complex riffage and shrieking vocals of death metal and black metal. Bands like Marast, Foskoven, The Runes of Beverest, Balzar, Necros Christos, Harvest Galthagia, Dragged into Sunlight, Hands of Thieves, and Soulburn explore this dark and atmospheric territory.
Yeah, let me name drop two that I think fit into this. You tell me otherwise. Hold on. Flesh God Apocalypse. And Dimmu Borgir.
I would say, yeah.
I mean, unless they fit into like another subgenre, I would
say this next one. Yeah, I would say they're more of the blacking death metal.
Okay. Yeah, because the Doom, those two bands don't really
more
bring
of the slow.
Yeah, and
where Flesh God's pretty damn fast.
Yeah, you're right.
And so is Demor.
Yeah, you got me in check there.
Yeah. Or even the next one after that for both of those bands. But
okay.
So
Just both the two band names that I feel like needed to be said on the show probably a little bit more. Flesh God Apocalypse is one I keep forgetting to bring up for whatever reason. Like they'll roll around in my head, and then I'll be like, oh shit, I forgot to mention them again. I fucking love that band.
Yeah, they're awesome. I've seen them live like 4 or 5 times, and at first when I first heard them, I didn't get into them because I'm higher vocals.
Sure.
But then all of a sudden, like when I seen them live a couple times, it's like, holy shit, these guys are real sweet. And then like after like that, then I started listening to them, and they're real sweet.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, especially with regards to this episode, I wanted to get their band name out there just 1 or 2 times. Flesh God Apocalypse, love that band.
So black and death metal. Typically, this is death metal that incorporates elements of black metal, such as trem-picking, anti-Christian, or satanic lyrical themes, and black metal aesthetics like corpse paint. Bands like Belphegor, Behemoth, Acrocock, and Sacramentum delve into this fusion. Also, I agree, Flesh God Apocalypse and Demi Borger. Love me some Belphegor. I can't say that enough. Black and death metal, all the way. They like to sing about Satan for 15 albums too, but like I'm here for it. So melodic black death, combining melodic death metal and black metal and European romanticism, this genre introduces an increased sense of melody and narrative into the genre. So the black and death metal and this melodic black and death, this is kind of where I live in right here. So bands like Dissection, Sacramentum, Naglfar, God Dethroned, which is a good band, Dawn, Unanimated, Thalakandra, Skeleton Witch, and Cardinal Sin explore this style.
I want to speak to the Skeleton Witch real quickly, too. I own one of their albums. I don't know which one it is off the top of my head. I don't have it in front of me. But absolutely love it. Could just sit and listen to that and enjoy the shit out of some Skeleton Witch. So that's a band name I want to speak to personally, saying, I love them.
Hell yeah. So war metal, an aggressive and a chaotic subgenre of the black and death metal. War metal is characterized by its rabid and hammering sound. Influences include early black and death metal bands, grindcore acts, and more. Bands like Sodom, Possessed, Autopsy, Sarcophago. You always got me on that. For some reason, that one just slips up me every time. And the first 2 Sepultura releases, as well as seminal grindcore acts like Repulsion. War metal bands include Blasphemy, Archgoat, Impiety, and Bestial Warless. All bands that I've heard of right in that. So war metal, I don't know. I kind of see what they're saying there, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. So whatever they're trying to achieve in that genre, I think when I think of the words war metal, I'm thinking of like Shadow of Intent, where they've just got that orchestra, and it really feels like they are marching to war when you roll that album out, especially their newest release. It really feels. That's what I would think of as like the words war metal,
right? And that's why I said I don't really know about that specific subgenre there. So we got black and grindcore. Black and grindcore is an intriguing fusion genre that marries elements of black metal and grindcore. Notable bands that have delved into this unique territory include Throck and Early Rotting Christ.
Yeah, I like both of those bands for sure.
Early Rotting Christ.
Yeah, the Throck though is like industrial to me.
Yeah, they have some industrial black metal to me almost.
Yeah.
Like,
which I'm cool with. Yeah. They were really angry, like super angry to the point of like you said a band name or their spite, and I said angry. Super angry. Yeah, super angry. And that's how I feel about an Throck is absolutely angry. Just like so full of rage and anger and hate, like to the point where your eyes just water from just the hate.
There's a band that I'm going to bring up on the albums of the year list episode, and that's what I've been doing a lot of, is listening to a whole shit ton of albums, and the band is called End. And they just came out with a new record, so I've been going through like all of the new records, and that's the same way. It's just fucking anger, like just spewing out of the speaker. So we got black and thrash metal. Moving on to black and thrash metal, often referred to as black thrash. This genre blends an aggressive sounds of black metal with the speed and intensity of thrash metal. It draws inspiration from legendary bands like Venom, Sodom, and Sarcophago. Some noteworthy acts in this genre include Aura Noir, Witchery, Black Fast, Santhanas, and Destroyer 666. So here's something for you, Nick. Folk, black metal, pagan metal, and Viking metal.
I'm going to love all of this.
Now let's explore black metal, pagan metal, and Viking metal. These styles incorporate folk influences and pagan metal bands focusing on pagan themes, and Viking metal bands immersing themselves in Norse mythology and the Viking Age. They may not focus on Satanism, but they do express anti-Christian views through their use of ancient folklore and mythologies. Some notable artists in this realm include Nigara, Bognet, Windor, Primordial, In the Woods, Krachan, and iconic Bathory, whose albums Bloodfire Death and Hammerheart played pivotal roles in the birth of Viking metal.
Yeah, I like all of what I'm hearing there. I don't know any of those band names particularly, but I find my way to bands that do have some of those elements in there. Off the top of my head, I'm not going to name anything. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about.
I mean,
I have some. I've tripped over a lot of this stuff. The black folk metal thing. Again, I think Skeleton Witch had some of that too, even though they were labeled in another genre as well. There is something to be said for like the folk black metal. There's something cool there. I know. I don't have it. I've heard some of it, but I need to hear more.
So we got a few more here, and then I'll give you the bands, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah,
so
sure.
we got industrial black metal. Switching gears to industrial black metal, this subgenre infuses black metal with industrial musical elements. Pioneering groups like Mysticum paved the way in 1991. Other notable acts that have successfully blended these two include DHG, Thorns, Blut aus Nord, NKVD, Black Lodge, Samiel, the Axis of Perdition, Aberon, and Oceans. That's the name of the band. Even the Covenant, Mortis, and Oliver, originally rooted in Norwegian black metal, ventured into the realm of industrial experimentation. And then back to that band that we had just spoke about.
Yeah, Analnathrak.
Yeah, those guys more are going to be in this category. So maybe they started in the other category that we had spoke of,
the
black and grindcore, and then they moved their way more into the industrial, which makes sense. So we got post-black metal. This term serves as an umbrella for genres that push the boundaries of traditional black metal, exploring new sounds and styles. Some standout bands in this category include Mercurer, Alcest, Boss de Nog, and Wilderness King.
Yeah, I've got an Alcest album that's really good. It's French post black death metal or black metal. Just no screams on that. So I think,
really?
Yeah, like I don't know if they're in their catalog. There are screams. I don't remember there being like much.
So is it like clean singing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it has the feel of like a shoegaze black metal.
Okay.
But it's not too terribly underproduced, but it also isn't like top-notch production quality. It's somewhere in the middle. But I recommended it to somebody who was trying to find their way to black metal. I was like, you might find your way through Alcest, which is kind of like a back door. You know, it's not really like your Dark Throne. It's not that heavy, but it's melodic and it's atmospheric and it's pretty good. But I don't remember there being any Fry vocals. I just listened to it and I thought, I'm not hearing any Fry on this. So for me, it's kind of even hard to throw into black metal at all without any Fry vocal. Yeah. So I'll
being post black metal though. So
and again, I'd have to like know more about their catalog. I don't mean to misrepresent them. I do have an album. I do like it. That's all I'm saying, and it does fit in that post black metal / black gaze as well. I'm guessing. Yeah, there they are.
Yep, black gaze. It's an intriguing fusion of black metal and shoegazing, blending the thrash elements of black metal with melodic and heavy distorted guitar styles. Bands such as Deathhaven, Alcest, Vara, Amasaurs, Boss de Nog, Oathbreaker, and Fen have made significant contributions to this genre.
Yeah.
So when I hear the shoegaze, it's like this wide open sonic soundscape of black metal, just very open, but still like an angst and anger to it that encapsulates like black metal.
Yeah, it has like those same chords, and maybe the beat is a little bit more mid-tempo while they're using some of those chords, but there's definitely like a black metal feel to listening to it. You just know that it's not going to steer into an even more blast beat kind of a verse or something. It's not going to go into the banshee screams. It's going to kind of come out more mid-paced and a little bit different element there.
I also think that has probably something to do with beliefs too, because I don't think those bands are screaming about Satan.
Yeah, so they're not going to want to scream their heads off.
Deathhaven definitely isn't, you know. Yeah. So we're going to talk about National Socialist Black Metal, NSBM. Stepping into controversial territory, NSBM promotes neo-Nazi or similar beliefs through the lyrics and imagery. While some artists merge these beliefs with ethnic European paganism, others combine them with Satanism or occultism. NSBM emerged in the mid-1990s and associated with bands like Absurd, Graveland, Inferium, Vels, and Grand Belial's Key. It has particularly strong presence in the former Eastern Bloc, which makes sense. We got psychedelic black metal. It's a subgenre that introduces psychedelic elements into the black metal sound. Acts like Ornasi Pazuzu, Mystium, Death Haven, Woe, Amazors, and In the Woods have ventured into this intriguing territory.
Yeah, it's psychedelic music I'm usually lost on. It's just kind of just drifts.
I'm good on it. Raw black metal seeks to amplify. So raw black metal, that's what we have. Raw black metal seeks to amplify the primitive qualities of the second wave of metal, emphasizing low production values, higher pitched guitar sounds, trem picking, and blast beats. Bands like Gorgoroth and Darkthrone embody the style, often associated with dystopic and minimalistic tendencies.
Yeah, it's that Fisher-Price stuff we're always talking about, right? Yeah.
It's that OG shit right there. That's the raw black metal. That's that raw stuff. Uncooked. Yeah. Bleeding in the middle. Yeah. Symphonic black metal. So symphonic black metal incorporates symphonic and orchestral elements into the genre. This includes use of instruments typically found in symphony orchestras, cleaner operatic vocals, and guitars with less distortion.
So the opposite end of the spectrum from what we just mentioned completely. It's funny to think that they're the same genre,
right?
But that's how different it is from one band to the next.
And then bands in that category, you could say symphonic. You could put like Demo in there, probably a little bit. Back to Flesh God Apocalypse, because they use a lot of the orchestration.
I would say
sometimes Cradle probably could be put into there. Cradle Fills.
Late Emperor.
Yep. So, and to round off subgenres, we're going to go into on black metal, which is Christian black metal. So let's touch on black metal, also known as Christian black metal, a subgenre that promotes Christianity through its lyrics and imagery. This genre sparked controversy with the release of Horde's Helling Usvart in 1994, a provocative parody of Norwegian black metal. Ancestor, a Norwegian black metal band, originally started as a death doom band under a different name, Crush Evil. These diverse subgenres showcase the rich and ever-evolving landscape of black metal, each offering its unique twist on the fascinating genre. So,
yeah, no comment on the black metal other than go for it, do your thing.
Yeah, it's literally we play black metal, but we talk about God. It's the same as Christian rap or Christian death metal. That's pretty much what that is. So it's on black metal.
And I do want people to get the feeling from me personally when I laugh or shrug these things off that both your Satan and your Christ, they mean nothing to me. I laugh that people make it their whole life and their art and everything. There's so many other things to think about and sing about that I'm just so bored with those two things going to war with each other and being promoted in art, but whatever.
And if that's your thing, go for it.
Yeah, I feel like you will lose me, even if the music is great. I will get bored of your message. I will not want to sing that part out loud. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not doing it.
But I can also see how that's an outlet for somebody to
Yeah.
spew their beliefs upon everybody else.
And especially somebody who adopts those beliefs. Like, I get it. You want to feel that energy with that belief. Yeah. More power to you.
Yeah, that's the way. It's no different than, I guess, like painting a bunch of pictures of Satan or Christ. You're just singing about them all the time.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you a list of black metal bands you can check out. Some of these are kind of like the OGs. Like I said, I may have left something off the list. If there's something that you particularly like or you think that we would like it, going back to part one of this, you said you don't listen to a lot of black metal. I probably listen to more black metal than you do, but it's also not a genre that I listen to a ton of.
Sure.
I'm more the death metal guy, the grindcore guy, the guy that will listen to some melodic black metal with the death metal influence. That's more my style. Mm-hmm. I don't give a lot of the classic death metal or the classic black metal the time of day just because I can't get over the production. It's just something for me. I've gone too far in my journey to.
But we've heard it.
Go back.
Yeah,
you know?
we've heard it. We listened to it, but and speaking to my own taste, I like the progressive, melodic, thrash death metal, 80s, 90s thrash metal, progressive between the Buried in Me styles of like where deathcore and death metal and progressive metal, Dream Theater, especially some of their heavier, darker work, which there is some of in that department. These are my personal tastes. So black metal does find its way into my catalog as well, but similarly, I don't listen to the OG true cult, like, all black leather, corpse paint, like raw Fisher-Price recording sounds. But some of this stuff is definitely for me, and I'm looking at your list just before you get into it, and I'm like, yep, got that, yep, okay, well, cool.
And then familiar with it.
Yeah, but and then also, and we said this before, some of these bands have been around for so long, you just can't just buy one album or listen to one album by them. You have to do a little bit more research. Like when I look for a recipe for food, I don't just say I want like mashed potatoes. I say what kind of mashed potatoes I want. Do I want garlic, smooth, creamy? Do I want, red skin mashed potatoes? So there's things. When you're doing your black metal search on these bands, maybe put in some adjectives for the style of music you like. If you want that raw black metal, find out, does Emperor have a raw black metal album?
Right.
Yeah. And you'll know.
So here is a list of bands. I got a little bit over 50. So
is it
I'm
arbitrary? It's just a list of black metal bands?
It's just a list of black metal bands. This is because this is to educate ourselves more into metal, and hopefully the listener too that may be interested in the black metal. So I'm just listing off a bunch of bands that have they may not be black metal now, or maybe they started black metal, but these are all bands that are listed at some time in their career. They cranked out some kind of black metal, and one of those 30 fucking subgenres that we talked about. So whether it be raw, whether it be symphonic, whether it be melodic, black and death, whatever it may be, but these bands all have elements. Some of them are true cult, just so to speak. Some of them are the OG black metal heads, but I'm just giving the listener these. So if they're like, hey, I want to fucking paint my face after this episode and turn all the lights off and light some candles and find the Satanic Bible and listen to black metal, I'm giving you this. So this is your Christmas gift.
Awesome.
50 black metal bands
coming at you.
So coming at you in no particular order. I just wrote a bunch down because I just thought it'd be we talked a few within the subgenres, but take these as you will. So you got Bathory, Mayhem, Emperor, Dark Throne, Burzum, Dissection, Immortal, Dimmu Borgir, Cradle of Filth, Satyricon, Samiel, Gorgoroth, Mutilation, Ulver, Borknagar, Sarcophago, Hellhammer, Old Man's Child, Rotting Christ, and Paul Nazarene, Windir, Marduk, Carpathian Forest, Moonspell, Enslaved, Vlad Tepes, In the Woods, Tormentor, Heket Enthroned, Tak, Sacramentum, Thorns, Demoncy, Black Funeral, Aegeron, Moon Sorrow, Judas Iscariot, Beheret, Summoning, Vadwain's Ende, Nocturnum Mortem, Graveland, Hades Almighty, Absu, Barathrum, Sortsind, Blut aus Nord, Lord Belial, Blasphemy, Zather, and then here's a few that I didn't think made the list. Koch Angren, really cool band, really like them. Dark Funeral, one of my favorites. I don't know how in all of this Dark Funeral was not
on that list. Wow,
on the list, but I love Dark Funeral. 1349.
They're newer, right? Or am I mistaken?
1349?
Yeah.
They're a little bit newer. Yeah, they're not old school or whatever. Black Braid, which we talked about on that, and I really like them.
Man, they're newer, and I love them so much.
Yeah.
I need to listen to more. Again, I'm behind on music listening. Jay knows I'm a busy person. I don't sit here and cry about it. Squeezing an album between these ears is tough, but man, a Black Braid song comes on in my car when I'm driving, and I'm like, volume up max.
Yeah,
let's go. I love it. Keep going. Jay,
after our episode with John, and when he brought that up, I listened to it working out one day, and I even texted him. I was like, man, this Black Braid shit is sweet, dude.
Yeah, it's good.
So a few more here. Waitan, Seth, Old Behemoth, Abath, and Wolves in the Throne Room.
Yeah,
so
and also not on this list, but we just got done talking about them. Flesh God Apocalypse. You're not gonna go wrong there. Maybe more of a death metal band in some people's eyes, but to me, there's so many with those keyboards.
Yeah,
it's black metal to me. That
symphonic.
you throw and the beats too. So.
Yeah, so there's your list. I hope you guys enjoyed these 2 episodes. Like I said, if you haven't heard the first one, go back and listen to it. Just tried to school you all on some black metal, give you the most information that we could when with these bios. Obviously, there's probably stuff that we missed, or you may see black metal in a different way. You may be a black metal expert. So if there's something that you think that we need to make a change or whatever, or speak on, sure. But I just try to give the overall general idea of what black metal was and where it lands in our space as far as extreme metal. You know?
I think my takeaway from the 2 episodes is a lot of weird mental illness in the community just kind of coalescing into violent acts early on, and that did, push it into like international discussions, like, oh, this black metal scene, they're burning churches down in Norway, and they got this guy who killed himself and another guy was murdered, and all of it happening over a short period of time. It does really give it like a really crippling backstory, a really macabre history, and timeline. I think when you take that element and set it aside, okay, that's what made black metal popular somewhat, the music has to stand on its own merits outside of that, and it has over time. And I like from the raw black metal, which is just really lo-fi quality production and, in my opinion, kind of noisy and obnoxious, to like the symphonic, orchestrated, huge musical production black metal, regardless of lyrical content. Like, there's really great quality black metal to listen to out there, and I think that's the overall point I would take away from this episode too, or both these episodes, is that there's a lot of like stuff on the side in the news, and then there's also some really noisy stuff. Same with death metal, like there's some noisy stuff and whatever else going on outside of the world of music, but I think that there's some good music to listen to here. People that are curious about black metal, we gave you a list of 50 bands there, and we talked about all the different subgenres. So throw a band name in, throw a subgenre in your search, and see what you get. Another one, we mentioned a few along the way, not in the 50 list, but the Skeleton Witch band.
Oh yeah.
Definitely dig that band. Personally speaking, I would recommend that to people who want to discover some black
thrash
death metal. Yeah,
they're like thrash though too, right?
Yeah, definitely some thrash, almost some 1-2s in there. So. Black metal, a valid music, just like death metal. It's got the vocals, it's got the fry vocals, but even like in death metal, you can get away from some of the fry vocals in certain bands. Alcest was one of them I felt like could represent black metal music, but then vocally come across in another light. And with that, you'll find yourself veering into more doom black metal too. You'll find some other band names that aren't black metal. Now you start to progress into another genre of metal from black to doom, just right there next door, but slow, opposite of black. You get mad fast, and then doom really chill. And it's funny how those worlds do marry, because you got to have a little bit of balance. You got to have the fast and the slow. So there's a lot of quality in the black metal, and I hope people listening find some bands in there that they can say, I listened to some black metal. It's not as bad as all that.
Right.
It's good. And it took me a long time to get there, man. I listened to extreme metal forever, and I just did not buy into the silliness of black metal.
Yeah.
The corpse paint was an immediate giggle, and I was like, I can't take it that seriously. If they're taking that seriously, then how could I?
Right.
But then over time, it was a lot less judgment on my behalf coming out, and I was like, who cares about the corpse paint? Just does the music slap? And then when you finally do hit, you find a couple of heavy hitters that do know what they're doing, and then you're like, okay, it's cool. I'm good. They can do whatever they need to do to make it sound that good. I'm cool.
Yep. So with that being said, we want to thank you guys so much for, especially if you listened all the way to the end of this episode and, dove into the black metal with us. We really appreciate it. Much love to you guys, and keep it metal.